So, I wasn't exactly planning to become a babysitter that day. Honestly, I barely knew how to handle my little sister Emma most of the time. She's 7, full of energy, and has this wild imagination that somehow makes normal things feel like chaos. And yet, here I was, on a completely normal Tuesday afternoon, answering a frantic call from Mom, who sounded like she was about to have a meltdown of her own. Hey, can you watch Emma today? Like, right now? Something came up at work and I really can't get away, Mom said. I remember looking at my phone, willing her to say something else. I had plans, or, well, I was supposed to hang out with Jake, my goofy best friend, who promised to bring his new skateboard for us to try out at the park. But Mom's voice was this mix of exhausted and pleading, so I sighed and said, "Yeah, sure, I'll be there in 10. Less than 5 minutes later, Mom showed up at our front door, practically handing off Emma with a look that screamed, "Please don't break her." I exchanged a quick glance with Emma, who was clutching this ratty, well-loved stuffed panda, looking at me like I had just volunteered for some impossible mission. Then Mom was gone, leaving me alone with my little sister, who immediately turned on me like I was some kind of stranger in her house. The moment the door clicked shut, Emma's cheerful face vanished. She stomped into the living room, muttering about missing Mom already, and without warning, launched into a full-on meltdown over a spilled glass of juice. I mean, it was a tiny spill like 3 drops on the carpet, but suddenly it was the end of the world. I stood there, helpless, with a paper towel in hand, thinking, okay, I can do this, just a simple babysitting job. But as Emma started sobbing harder, I realized I was in way over my head. How was I supposed to calm down a tornado of feelings and mess when I barely knew what made her tick? Minutes later, with juice stains drying and my nerves fraying, I was left wondering, how does one survive watching a 7-year-old who's basically an emotional storm wrapped in tiny pajamas? That question hung in the air as Emma crossed her arms and glared at me, clearly not ready to cooperate just yet. So, I guess I should explain a bit about my relationship with Emma before things got, well, chaotic. You know how siblings can be. You share the same house, the same parents, but sometimes it feels like you might as well be living on different planets. That was us. Not necessarily enemies, but definitely more like acquaintances with a few awkward exchanges sprinkled in. Emma has her little world filled with imaginary friends and secret codes that I honestly didn't understand. And me? I was mostly just that older sister who reminded her to stop jumping on the couch or to brush her hair yawn. Not exactly besties. Mom was a single parent juggling a million things, and honestly, we both noticed how tired she looked all the time. Between work, appointments, and trying to keep us fed and clean, she barely had a moment to breathe. So when her voice came through the phone desperate and urgent, well, it caught me off guard. I was supposed to meet Jake at the park. This was weeks in the making, and the idea of bailing on him was pretty disappointing. Jake's the kind of friend who can make even the worst day funny, with his goofy snorts and terrible skateboard tricks that somehow don't end in disaster every single time. We had plans to test out his new skateboard at the park, which he'd been hyping for days. But when Mom called me that day saying she couldn't make it, some part of me just felt like, what choice did I even have? Saying no felt like I was letting everyone down, and honestly, I kind of wanted to prove I could be more responsible, you know? I mean, I'm the older sister. Shouldn't I be able to handle this? So, I swallowed my hesitation and told Mom I'd be there soon. Walking into the house with Emma in tow, it hit me how little I actually knew about what made her tick. She clung tightly to that stuffed panda, an old squished thing she's had forever, and avoided eye contact like I was some stranger invading her space. Usually, Emma's full of chatter about her school or the latest episode of some cartoon, but at that moment, nothing, just silence and side eyes. Mom gave me that tired, pleading look like, "Please don't break her," sighed, and rushed out the door before I could say a word. The door clicked shut, and suddenly I was on my own with this whirlwind of a little kid who was already beginning to unravel. It was supposed to be simple, right? Watch Emma for a couple of hours until Mom got back. But within minutes, it was clear this wasn't going to be a walk in the park or a smooth skateboarding session later with Jake. Emma refused to eat the snack I offered her, crossed her arms, and sat glaring like I was some kind of villain. She wasn't interested in her favorite cartoons or even building the Lego set Mom had bought her last Christmas. When I tried distracting her by suggesting a game, the answer was a flat no. Then came the tantrum. Over a tiny, insignificant thing, a misplaced crayon. She threw herself onto the couch, sobbing so hard it was like she'd been holding it in for days. I stood there, totally frozen, wondering if this was how babysitters always felt, the unexpected emotional storms they had to weather. I tried to stay calm, suggested we color together, or maybe bake something simple like cookies, but every offer was met with more tears or silent withdrawal. Pretty soon, I was doubting myself, wondering if I'd suddenly forgotten how to be an older sister, or even just a competent human being in general. But then, out of nowhere, Emma suddenly looked up at me, eyes glossy but calmer. She whispered, I just miss mom. She's always busy, and it's like I'm invisible. That stopped me cold. I mean, I knew mom was busy, but hearing it from Emma made it real, like a quiet ache beneath all the anger and tears. And for the first time that afternoon, something inside me shifted. Instead of feeling annoyed or helpless, I felt this strange tug to really listen. So we sat there, together in the messy living room, and she told me about her day at school, the new friends she'd made, and how she wished mom could spend more time with her. I listened, and I guess that's when things started turning around. Like we were, suddenly, not just two strangers stuck in the same house, but a team figuring it out together. By the end of the afternoon, Emma and I managed to build an epic Lego fortress complete with a moat, which mostly involved me guessing what her imagination wanted. We even laughed about the silly names she gave the Lego Knights. Honestly, some of them were hilarious. It wasn't perfect, and Emma still looked tired and a little sad once mom finally came back, but for a few hours, it felt like maybe we weren't completely terrible at this whole sibling thing. Still, as I watched Emma tuck her panda under her arm and curl up on the couch, I wondered if this sudden closeness was real or just a momentary thing. I mean, could a few hours of forced babysitting really change years of distance? Would Emma see me as someone who cared, or just the annoying big sister who shows up when mom can't be there? I didn't have the answers yet. But for that afternoon, at least, I was willing to try. The first few minutes after mom left were, well, kind of a disaster. Emma was already in full meltdown mode, her eyes blazing like a tiny storm as she refused to sit still or even acknowledge the sandwich I'd made her. Honestly, I wasn't prepared for this level of resistance. I thought maybe a snack or a game would do the trick. Nope. She crossed her arms, gave me that look, the one that says like, "Do you really think you can make me happy?" And flatly said, "No." I tried to lighten the mood with some goofy faces, hoping to get a giggle or a roll of the eyes at least. But nope, she just blinked at me, unimpressed. So, I went for the classic move and pulled out the phone, offering to play her favorite cartoon. Her answer was a dismissive, "I don't care." Okay, that stung a little. Then came the infamous crayon incident. Emma wanted a red crayon from the box, but it was missing, probably under the couch somewhere where all the lost things disappear. She spotted it, apparently, on the other side of the room, but couldn't reach it herself. I went to grab it for her, and before I could say anything, she dropped her body onto the couch, arms flailing like she was auditioning for a dramatic role. Full-on sobbing started, a sound that felt way too intense for a misplaced crayon. I was standing there with the ridiculously over-enthusiastic crayon in hand, feeling like the worst babysitter in history. My mind raced. Should I yell? Should I give up? Should I send an SOS text to Jake? None of those options seemed good, so I just hovered awkwardly. Trying to calm her down, I pulled out some toys from the closet. Maybe if I suggested a game like hide and seek or Legos. Emma shook her head. No, and her outburst didn't pause, the sobs growing louder and the tantrum escalating. Honestly, I started doubting myself big time. Was it supposed to be this hard? Then, out of the blue, Emma's sobs softened, and she wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Her voice cracked as she mumbled, "I just miss mom." It wasn't like one of those fake "I miss mom" lines you get when kids want something. This was raw, real, like a crack in her emotional armor. I sat down beside her on the couch and, sort of reached for her hand, a bit unsure if that was okay or if I'd accidentally make it worse. But she didn't pull away, so I gently squeezed and asked, "Do you want to tell me about it?" She nodded slowly, and that's when the silence cracked open. Emma started telling me about how mom's always rushing off to work or appointments, and how she sometimes feels like nobody really sees her when mom's not around. She talked about missing bedtime stories or just hanging out in the kitchen while mom cooked. There was no blame, just this sad little truth spilling out. Hearing that made my chest hurt. I mean, sure, I'd noticed mom was tired and busy, but hearing it through Emma's eyes made it something I couldn't just ignore anymore. We ended up talking for a while. Really talking. Emma told me about her day at school, how she made a new friend named Lucy who apparently is obsessed with unicorns, and how she wished we could do stuff like that together. I listened, probably asking way too many questions, but for the first time that day, it felt like we were on the same team. After that, things slowly shifted. I suggested we build something with her Lego set, and she actually smiled. She had this wild imagination, creating knights with funny names like Sir Fluffy and Dragon Butterscotch. Honestly, I was just happy when she wasn't crying. We spent the next hour creating this gigantic Lego fortress, complete with a moat made out of random bits of paper and a secret passage that only we knew about. Emma laughed a ton, and I caught myself having fun too, even if I was basically winging it. It wasn't perfect. Emma still looked tired and a little guarded, and I could tell she still missed mom. But for those few hours, it felt like we found a little space just for us. After mom came back and thanked me, Emma gave me a quick, shy hug and whispered, "Thanks for being here." That hit me harder than I expected. As I watched Emma tuck her panda tightly under her arm, already yawning, I couldn't help but wonder if this closeness was real or just a brief lull before the chaos returned. Could I actually be someone she trusts? Or was I still the annoying big sister who only shows up when mom can't be there? I didn't know. But for now, seeing her smile even just once felt like a small victory. And, honestly, I wasn't quite ready for the next babysitting adventure, but maybe, just maybe, I didn't want to run away from it either. When mom finally came back, I could tell she was bracing for some sort of disaster. She eased off the front door cautiously, like she half expected the house to be turned upside down or for Emma to be glued to the ceiling. But instead, she found us in the middle of our Lego kingdom. Emma sitting cross-legged on the floor, proud as anything, with that stuffed panda tucked safely by her side and a genuine smile playing on her lips. Mom blinked, surprise washing over her face. "Wow, look at this," she said, grinning the kind of smile that made me think, maybe, just maybe, I hadn't completely botched this. Emma beamed and, without missing a beat, launched into an animated explanation of how Sir Fluffy had bravely defended the fortress from the evil dragon Butterscotch. Mom listened, truly listening, and I guess that was the best thing I saw all day, the way she was fully present, even if just for a moment, showing Emma exactly the attention she'd been craving. After Mom settled in, she gave me this tired but genuine thank you. "I don't know how you did it," she admitted. "I was fully prepared to come home to chaos, and instead, you guys built a freaking castle." I shrugged, a little embarrassed but secretly proud. I just tried to listen, I guess. It sort of hit me then. Responsibility isn't just about doing what's expected. It's about showing up, really showing up, even when it's hard or you're not sure what to say. It's being present, even when the other person keeps their feelings locked away behind a storm of tears or silence. I thought I was only babysitting Emma, but really, I was stepping into a role I hadn't taken seriously before, the role of someone who hears when no one else can. That afternoon, the distance that usually hung between us seemed to shrink, even if only a little. And then again afterward, the everyday stuff. The yelling about brushing hair or the groans over chores came back. But under all that noise was this quiet understanding that maybe Emma and I weren't just siblings who happened to live in the same house anymore. We were a team, clumsily figuring out this crazy thing called family. I'm still not sure I'm ready to say yes the next time Mom calls. That unpredictability, the weight of it, is kind of intimidating. But as I watched Emma drift off to sleep with her panda, the faintest smile still lingering on her lips, I felt this small flicker of hope. Maybe, through all the chaos and mess and spilled juice, I'm starting to learn what being an older sister really means. And if it turns out that I'm just getting started, well, bring on the next babysitting day. Or, at least let me have a heads up.